Welcome to Savepoint, a show where we talk about video game news and topics that you suggest to us in the YouTube comments and on Twitter using the hashtag Savepoint. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Nick Rubio.
No last names.
Yeah, no last name. God, it's becoming a plague.
It's like a trivia thing, so they'll go back and watch our old. It's like, wow, what's his last name? I don't know. I care so much.
All right, from Twitter, Anthony Games at Wolf Gamin 2 minutes ago. As per paper telling me. Can you guys talk about how game companies are lacking with their products? Do you think game companies are lacking?
It's a loaded question, for sure.
Which game companies are we talking about? Are we talking about AAA studios? Are we talking about indie studios?
Well, I think what he said is he mentioned on Twitter, he elaborated a bit more, like he used the instance of like stuff that's happened with like Battlefield, for instance, where it's like you have a AAA publisher that has shitloads of resources, to use the industry term, and somehow they still come short. Like, the game comes out, it's buggy, it's bad, their servers aren't up to par. I think it's more like the kind of infrastructure problems that we kind of see.
I don't necessarily think that is part of the publisher's fault, but it's more of a thing where like it's the back end publisher so much as the front end publisher. So let's say on the terms of Activision, or it's not Activision. Who owns Battlefield? EA.
EA.
So the people who make EA aren't necessarily in charge of the servers and, a lot of the stuff that happens because they are pushed to push their game out. You know what I mean? Like, they could take another year or two to make their games, but the EA
right. No, you're absolutely right.
Is the people who push them out because they want to make their money. They put all this money into it, and this is what they want.
The developers are kind of almost like contractors in this instance, and, they have these strict deadlines, so when EA says, nope, today's the time to put it out, I think a big problem with the inferior products as far as games go is this sort of forced annualization of games. Like, you got to hit a certain mark in a certain year. Like,
it's business ruining games,
and it's going a lot the way of Hollywood, I think, in that there are certain seasons for movies. You have your summer blockbusters. And there's a certain time of year where like feel good movies come out, and there's a certain time of the year where horror movies come out. I was listening to do you remember? I can't remember his name. The actor who played the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, fuck, I don't remember what his name is, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, well, he actually does some directing too, and I don't remember. What what did he work on? He worked on some movies. Anyway, the gist of the story is that with his first horror film movie, they were putting him out alongside like Pixar movies, and he was like, "You're killing me by doing this." And I think it's the same thing with games. There's a time of year where your Call of Duty games come out, your big blockbuster shooter games come
Sonic out. Boom is not going to be released. They pushed the release date of Sonic Boom back because it was going to be released the same day that Grand Theft Auto 5 was for the next year, and they're like, "We're not doing this because this is suicide. Yeah, no one's going to buy our game. No one."
Yeah, exactly. Because that's it's a very odd mixed bag, but I don't know. I don't think there's too much intentionally bad business going on. There might be some oversights. I think some of these companies now are a little bit too big.
It's one side saying what they need. It's kind of like when two people are arguing, but who's going to win? They say, "Oh, we need more time to test this. We need more time to run betas and run all this stress testing and stuff." And the publisher's like, "Look, just fucking put it out and we'll be fine."
That, and I think a large part of the problem is on us as gamers. Is I think say let's dial back like 4 or 5 years, and Modern Warfare comes out. I'm sure all the servers worked fine. But they probably had a tenth of the audience they have now. Games have gone so much more mainstream now, more than ever, that servers are under so much more stress because you have so many more people playing now.
Not to mention all those bastards doing stupid... I don't want to call them hackers because they're not hackers, but the people who... Like, you heard about the Lizard Squad
the Lizard Squad
taking down Ghosts and Destiny servers. Because why the fuck not, right?
I just don't understand it. I really don't get why.
It is what it is.
But, I hope that answers your question. I think that there is a lot of good aspects. I do think there is some bad stuff, but it's usually on the publisher, not usually the game makers themselves. But, that's life. Thank you for asking the question, by the way. Did I say thank you twice? That's how grateful I am. Anyway, so this comes from Big Fry TV on Twitter. And he says, the downfall of WildStar and where you think MMOs need to go.
I don't
See, I thought WildStar was doing good.
I don't necessarily think WildStar's doing bad. I mean, they definitely need to do more things better. I mean, they are implementing their new whole mega server thing, so they're going to be clumping all the servers up and getting rid of dead servers and stuff like that, which is a big problem with a lot of MMOs. Even World of Warcraft, there are servers you can go onto and they're just fucking barren. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because most people want to gravitate to where all the action is, where all the bigger guilds are, so they'll go to the big servers. WildStar necessarily needs to. They're like Cotton, like they're another company that could have used more testing, but their publisher Nexon was like, put your game out and make the money. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like they were still in that sort of weird phase of almost there, but there still being a lot of broken things. So where MMOs need to go. I mean, they don't really need to go anywhere. I think a lot of MMOs that are coming out are starting to do a lot better things, like Final Fantasy.
Realm Reborn 14.
14.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Realm Reborn still has a healthy audience. Guild Wars 2 still has a really healthy audience. I mean, it's just kind of like, what do you want as a gamer? You know what I mean? Like, there are MMOs that will go to different things.
Yeah, you know? and the second part was in where do you think MMOs need to go? I think it's a really hard question, and I think the biggest problem a developer of a massively multiplayer online game is that they have two major goals, right? Now, I think one is a gratifying game experience. It's when you play it, you enjoy what happens. And then the second major goal is longevity. And I think this is what's happening with Destiny right now. Now it's not necessarily an MMO.
It's an MMO.
Well,
I don't care what they say.
The only reason why I'm not going to call it MMO is because you'll never be on screen with 80 people. You know, it's maybe...
I mean, you play in the patrol missions, you can play with upwards of 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it is... Okay, think about it. In an MMO, what you do is you start as a level 1 character. There's levels. You have a skill tree. You have to do repetitive daily missions every day to get a certain marker of goals, which in like World of Warcraft, that was your valor points. You have a weekly cap. And then, you know, next week you do the same thing over again. Right. Destiny is the same way. There's raids with weekly lockouts that save your progress. I mean, Destiny, in all sense of... It's an MMO. I mean, you just don't have to pay for it like other MMOs.
But just because of the way it's limited, like, you know, you'll never raid Orgrimmar, you know, because like it's just not set up in that way that it's...
That's like saying you're not calling Guild Wars an MMO because Guild Wars was the same way. It was instanced things.
Was everything instanced in Guild Wars?
In the original Guild Wars, when you went out to the world to do missions, you would go and you could only see people that were in your party.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the same thing if, like, you it's an MMO. Well, whatever they call
regardless, like, it's totally besides the point. The problem is okay, so a lot of people are complaining about the drops right now because if you get a legendary engram, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a legendary item, and you have to do a lot of farming to try to get good items. Now, on Bungie's side of this, I'm pretty sure they've gone on record saying that they intend for Destiny to be a 10-year game. Didn't they say that? And the problem is, if you get your loot and you max out your character, what's left to do? You're chasing towards the end. So... on one hand, you have to give people stuff to keep playing. They have to enjoy playing. You have to
chase that carrot on the stick.
Yeah, but if they don't ever get a bite, they're going to stop trying. So I think that's the biggest task of an MMO is sort of trying to balance rewards for the player and the longevity of the game, because those two kind of are a slider. You have to kind of find a perfect balance between the two.
I think a lot of games need to stop trying to cater to many different audiences at once. Like that worked for certain games and stuff like that. Like WoW did a fine balance between PvE and PvP. And there's a good audience for both. But like a lot of games are trying to create that same scenario and they fail. Like I think there needs to just be games where you're going to do a lot of PvP, and that's just what you cater towards, or you're going to do a lot of PvE. Like I feel like trying to juggle too many things, you get tripped up. Some people on one end aren't happy, some people on the other end aren't happy, and it creates like a bad environment.
No, I absolutely agree. I think you have a great point. Okay, so if I were to make an MMO, and I think what we're really lacking on the market is something that embraces a more casual player while also supporting a very competitive environment. And that the biggest problem with an MMO, if you have a day job and a girlfriend or either of the two, or boyfriend, or a boyfriend, or look, what I'm saying is if you have obligations besides video games, you will never be as good as the people who sit there 18 hours a day playing. So what if you had an MMO that's like 10 hours a week. That's all you get.
I was telling you about this. Final Fantasy had that.
Did they?
Yeah, it was before. No, it was either I think it was either Final Fantasy or it was Phantasy Star Online.
Oh, okay.
And they had a lockout like that where people would it wasn't to keep people on par with each other. It was to keep people from being addicted to the game.
Right.
Same effect though, but people were furious about it because of people who had disposable time and were like, I want to play more than this. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult thing, you know what I mean? I do agree with you. It does suck to see people be like, "Wow, this person has all the stuff and I don't." But you know, I just don't have time to commit to it.
It's like when a game comes out, like what you were telling me, Destiny came out, and like the next day they were level 20s.
Yeah, who's socking it?
What? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of ruins the experience for a lot of people, I think. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, those hardcore players probably dump the most money into the game. So from the developer standpoint, it makes more sense to keep them happy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Thank you for the question, sir.
One more for the day. Mr. Sharky Hat, our good friend on Twitter and other places.
Yeah.
The revival of Gauntlet.
This is a pretty awesome topic. I'm glad he asked me about this because Gauntlet comes out tomorrow, but for you, it will be today because this comes out on Tuesday, hopefully.
Or if you're in the past, seeing this in the future.
It's already out. Did you like it? I'm excited.
I am too. I haven't watched too much stuff about it just because I've kind of weaned myself off of seeing spoilery things. You know what I mean? Just because I didn't even play the Destiny beta because I wanted to experience it as it happened, you know? And I'm really excited because I grew up playing Gauntlet, The Dark Legacy on, arcade machines and Fun Depot, if anyone else can remember what that fucking place was. Or,
wasn't that basically like Boomers?
It was basically a Boomers, yeah.
Okay.
It was I don't know if it was anywhere else, but it was in West Palm for me.
Okay.
And we would sit at the arcade machine feeding it quarters and, playing that. And then eventually it came on the PS2 and we brought it home and played it for hours and, in front of the TV.
From what I've seen, at least from what they put out, like on their Steam page and everything, their promotional videos, it seems like it's pretty close to the original.
They definitely kept to its roots. All they really have done is a lot more. The graphic fidelity obviously is better. The loot system and stuff like that. But I mean, from what it looks like, it plays the same, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah, I'm also really excited for it, and hopefully we're thinking about maybe making a video series out of that because we're pretty sparse on the gameplay videos here. So if that's a thing, go check it out.
When it exists.
Yeah, when it exists. But that's all I can say is I'm excited for the game, and I hope it's good. But I don't know what else to say other than that. Thanks again for the question. Of course, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you would like to suggest a topic, go ahead and leave it in the comments. And we'll see you next time.